Redefining transactional relationships and saying the wrong thing. In this video, Simon Sinek explains the infinite minded gamers are aware of this. If you have a wonderful relationship, you don't need to be the cheapest. Going slowly in the right direction is preferable to taking a sharp turn.
I'll give you a personal example. The person who sold me this property was the seller's agent.
Oh, okay.
Right? He was charming and nice and wonderful and lovely and helpful and all the things that I would expect. And I warmed up to him, and he was apparently helping me. And then I remember distinctly at the closing, he sat there with no personality. All of his charm had left. All of his friendliness had gone. He barely engaged with me. He just wanted to be there to collect his check so he could get out of there. And I realized it was all fake. It was all for show. It was all to butter me up so that I would simply sign on the dotted line. And as a result, I will never work with him again as a buyer or a seller. I'll never list with him ever. And I probably will never work with that company again because I realized they just saw me as a number. They never saw me as a person in the first place. He was an old white guy. I mean, that should tell you a little bit of something as well. That's sort of maybe how he was raised in the industry. And by the way, the mortgage broker was no different. You know, he was charming and wonderful and lovely and helped me get a great rate, et cetera, et cetera. And then I remember after I closed, he called me and said, "Congratulations." And I said, "Oh, thank you. That's so nice of you." And he called me just to congratulate me on closing on my house. And then the first thing he said to me was, "And if you know anybody who's looking for a mortgage, I'd really appreciate the recommendation." He never called me to congratulate me. He called me because he wanted the referral. Like, give it a breath. You know, like, call me and congratulate me, and a week later ask me for the referral.
And see, let me tell you what sucks about that. Can I say that? What sucks about that totally is that one person colored your entire opinion.
But this is finite versus infinite.
Okay.
He could only see the transaction. He could only see get business, get more business. Get business, get more business. What he didn't understand is he's dealing with a human being, and the more that there's a relationship, I will gladly recommend him. I will gladly introduce you to my guy, right? Now I'm completely agnostic because if you're going to treat me like a transaction, I'm going to treat you like a transaction. If you're going to treat me like a transaction, I'm going to squeeze you to get more money out of you. I want a lower rate. I'm going to squeeze the agents. But if you treat me like a human being, I'll gladly pay a higher rate because I want to work with you. And that's what infinite-minded players understand better, which is you don't have to be the cheapest. You don't have to have the lowest rate or the lowest price if you have a great relationship.
The foundation of transactional interactions is the expectation of reciprocation. Both people are thinking about how they will benefit. People are self-serving, ensuring that they receive the most out of the relationship for a predetermined amount of work in return. Relationships that are transactional are those in which each party is more concerned with themselves than the other. You need to work on establishing sincere connections and growing empathy for your spouse if you want to feel less transactional in your relationships. Provides guidelines on how to discover greater happiness and engagement, prevent burnout, reset aspirations, and if necessary, alter pathways as the ongoing pandemic forces many of us to reconsider how and why we do our work. No matter where you are in your career, demonstrates how to establish or reframe your purpose as it relates to work.
We don't teach difficult conversations. We don't teach conflict resolution. We don't teach de-escalation. And we don't teach how to give and receive feedback. We don't teach how to treat ideas. We don't even teach people how to have a meeting. Like, we don't teach any of these things. And so we're just leaving it up to chance to hope that somebody knows what they're doing, which we would never let somebody on the front line do. We give them tons of training on how to do their jobs. So part of it is the skill set that we can train. The other thing is a lot of leaders, I think, are afraid of doing things for fear of saying the wrong thing. And again, this really lends itself to the training we need to give our leaders. And especially, I think this was really exaggerated after the murder of George Floyd, where so many leaders did nothing. They're not bad people. They were just so afraid of saying the wrong thing or inflaming a situation or triggering someone that they chose to just do nothing. And so one of the things we need to do is teach people how to lean into tension. and to learn how to de-escalate one's own anger or one's own trigger. And again, you brought it up before, which is, and replace it with curiosity. Tell me more. What else? I'm struggling to understand. Let me tell you the story that's going through my head, I think is a really big one that I've learned, which is because I'm reacting based on my own narrative, right? And so they're reacting to my words or my reaction. And so one of the things that's really helped me is to share what's going on in my head so that people have the context of where my reaction's coming from. Let me tell you what my history is and what my background is. I'm not saying this is right or wrong, I'm just telling you my story. And I'll say, I had this happen in the past where X, Y, and Z. And so I'm nervous at your suggestion because in the past, this has happened. Can you help me resolve this, or do you understand where I'm coming from? And I think the more we can share what's going on in the process, rather than simply, responding with our answers or our reactions, helps the other person see the way we're trying to see it, and it also encourages us to see the way they're trying to see it. So I think the more we share, it's that vulnerability word again, right? Let me tell you my history, let me tell you my baggage, let me tell you my background, let me tell you my experiences, let me tell you where my opinion is coming from. The worst thing, the one that drives me up the wall, the one that triggers me is, this is how we've always done it. Well, why do we do it that way? Because this is how we've always done it. And my rule is, if you cannot tell me why we're doing it this way, that means it's on the chopping block. That doesn't mean it has to change, but I want real explanations of why we do something this way. If somebody can't tell me, then it's open to being changed.
We don't teach people how to have difficult conversations, resolve conflicts, de-escalate situation, give and receive feedback, treat ideas, or even how to conduct meetings. So we are just leaving it to chances and hoping that someone knows what they are doing. However, we would not let someone on the front line to do that, because we would give them extensive training on how to do it, how harmful were your remarks, do people care or pay attention. Take a time to consider whether what you said actually hurt the discourse. Don't make things worse and draw extra attention to a mistake that might not have actually been a problem if your mistake does not cause a scene. Own up to your huge mistake if you are aware of it. Be truthful with your remarks and then offer an apology. A sincere emotional apology is required when retracting a statement, especially if what you said was interpreted as offensive or impolite. Make no excuses when you use inappropriate language. This is your chance to make things right, not to cover up a dreadful error. Fortunately, your error did not devastate a relationship to the point that it was irreparable. If so, try not to allow the foolish thing you said overwhelm you unless you want to again make the same mistake. Everyone dislikes these situations, yet the truth is that we all occasionally find ourselves in them. Proceed with dignity and learn from the experience to sharpen your communication and conflict resolution techniques. However, if someone cannot provide a convincing justification, then it should be changed. Hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching. For more videos, like these and subscribe.